Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a new reading journal that I created. We're going to go through what I did to put it together, the materials I used. We'll do a flip through and discuss everything all about this cute little beast of a reading journal. We all know and love and adore my classic 8x8 reading journal. I have, I think, 3 years now of setups for my yearly reading journal that I use the Archer and Olive Square journal for. But I got inspired by As Told by Joey here on YouTube when she shared what she calls is a TBR journal. And I thought it was such a great idea and a much needed companion journal to my already yearly reading journal that I use. So that is what this is. This is what I will be calling my TBR journal, and this will house my entire physical TBR as well as author backlists that I want to read throughout the next couple to 5 years, different challenges that I, want to do, and all of that. So, without further ado, let's do a little flip through. First, I'll just quickly note the materials I used to create my journal because I always get asked in the comments whenever I share my reading journals. This is a Archer and Olive. I think this is a B6 journal. I got the specific one in one of their quarterly subscription boxes, so you will not be able to find this design. But they have a bunch of them on their site, and one thing about this journal is I think that they were experimenting with a larger number of pages for this size. I don't know if they carry this many pages. I think it's 160 pages in this size now, but I will put in a clip. When I first started using this journal, the binding broke right away, and I had to glue the first 2 pages together as well as the binding here to kind of keep it together. I didn't want to start over because I was already like a quarter into creating this journal. Archer and Olive's customer service is amazing. They offered me a free notebook or money for the value of the notebook, so I went with the gift card option because I already have this journal. I love it, and I thought, a little bit of glue will probably fix the issue. So with that being said, the materials I used were practically all markers and pens. So any color that you see in this journal are my Tombow dual brush pens. I will put the colors in the description because as you can see, they're faded here. I wanted to match kind of the theme. Then I use the Pigma Micron pens to do the borders and lines in this journal. These are amazing because once they dry, they don't bleed when you use marker over top of them, which is really nice. And then I use the Tombow Fudenosuke, what is this, hard tip pen, their brush pen for the titles. And then for all my writing, I use the Pentel, is it Pentel? Yeah, Energel Clena in 0.4 in black. I actually went through an entire pen when I created this journal, so that's how much writing I was doing. This one though does bleed when you, or it does like feather or like it swipes. Let me see if I have an example. Like here, when you use a marker on top of it, even if it has dried. So that's one thing I don't like about this pen. For my ruler, I just use this, the Coffee Monsters Co. metal ruler. So that's basically all the materials I used other than the stickers on the first page. There is nothing super fancy about this, but it is very, very practical, and I'm so excited to use it over the next few years. So I'm going to stop rambling. Let's start the flip through of this journal. So for this cover page, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I was kind of just shuffling through all my stickers and prints that I had. I put this sky picture that I printed from probably Pinterest, and then I added this sticker of this girl reading a book because I felt like it was so fitting. and then just stickers all around. And then I wrote TBR Journal 2025, and then down here I will put the year that I inevitably will stop using this journal. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm not foreseeing that to be in the next few years. I'm hoping probably 5 years, so we'll see. But that's such a nice number to start the reading journal with. Then when you flip to the next page, I have the index, and this one will actually be very, very helpful. So I just reference all the different, I guess, trackers and pages that I might need the number to. For my author backlist, I did not write down every author. You'll see what I did for that. And yeah. So the first tracker list I put in my journal was also inspired by As Told by Joey, and that was the 1001 Books to Read Before You Die. Now, I don't own this book, but I found a master list online that someone created of all the different versions of this book, what all of the 1001 books were, when they were removed, or when some books were added. And I just decided to go with the books from the core list. So the books that did not change when they re-released this novel. And so this is about, I think it was 700 and maybe 50, maybe a bit less. So it's not technically 1001 books, but I feel like that's more than enough. And so I wrote out the book title, the author, and then a space to write the year that I read the book in, and then my rating. And then I put a little star beside the books that I already own the physical copy of, so it's easy to kind of start with those. And then the ones that I have read, I highlighted in this green marker. And then I left a space here so that if I were to ever reread it as well, I will have the option to add the date I reread and then my rating after a reread. So you'll see I actually own quite a bit of these books. This journal actually took me, I think, probably over a month to put together because of the amount of writing I had to do. It was so much writing. Oh, it was exhausting. So initially, I actually started recording me putting the journal together, and then when I realized how much writing I was doing, I was like, no, I am not recording the setup of this because it is going to be like 20 hours of footage. Oh, here I just have one. Same with this page. I don't know how many pages of this there are. Oh, okay, perfect. We're at the end. So on the last page, I actually created another table where I wrote the year. So I started this journal in December, but the number of books that I read from this list, the number of books I haven't read, or to read, and then the percentage of the books that I have read. So far I've read 3.8% of the books on this list of 700 some odd books. Lots of reading to get done. The next spread I wanted was the 100 greatest books of all time. Now, you may think this is redundant because the 100 greatest books of all time should be on the 1001 Books to Read Before You Die. And there are some similarities, but actually some of these are not on that list. So this is technically also mostly a list of classics, I'm pretty sure. Found this on a site. I will link to that site because this is a ever-changing list. So this is the list as of probably January 2025. And again, I did the same thing where I wrote, well, first I wrote the number since there is a smaller number to this, the book title, the author, the date read, and the date read, and the rating. And then again, I did a star asterisk beside the books that I own, and then I highlighted the books that I have read. So here I literally own a good amount. So I think I actually, yeah, I changed this one up too. In this graph, I changed it from what I wrote here because I added also books owned. I own 61 of the books. I've read 19 and there are 81 books left to read. So I am done 19%. This is a much better percentage than the last one. Also, I literally could not remember when I read Charlotte's Web for the first time. So I didn't add a date. But of course it's 5 stars. Next, we have a series tracker. So I honestly, this one was probably one of the hardest spreads I put together because I didn't know exactly what I wanted it to look like or the functionality with it. But I landed with this. So I have the series name, the author of the series, the number of books I have read in the series, the number of books in the series. And that should have said total books, not total series. That's funny. And the year I started the series and the year that I ended it. And I am in the middle. I wouldn't say in the middle, actually. I own more series than this, but I didn't want to add every single series I own just yet. I wanted to first add the series that I have started and then the ones that I am looking to start in the next year or so. And then here in this one, I had to write in pencil because this is going to be an ever changing number until I finish the series. I'm actually trying to see if there's anything I could add, but no, this is a pretty updated list. And then I left a blank page here for whenever I run out of space here. I didn't create another graph on this page, or table, I should say, because I don't know if I'm going to change up this table. So I just left it blank. Oh, and then I left another page here. Okay. Then this page here is where I start with my author backlist. So I added here a little index for the author backlist, what page of the journal the author's backlist is on. And of course, I left extra space and I've left extra pages at the end of this section for whenever I want to add more authors. But we'll go through what authors I did add. So the first one here is Charles Dickens. Of course, my boy Charles. I've loved every single Dickens that I've read so far. Oh, why did I not add a rating here? That's so weird. Interesting. I'm pretty sure I gave A Christmas Carol 5 stars. I'll just keep it at that. I had some issues with the backlist, finding an accurate backlist as well as the accurate publication dates. So possibly I will be missing books or the publication dates are wrong. I also, with some of them, just removed certain books that I didn't feel like I wanted to read. Like a lot of these authors have like essay collections or nonfiction work, things like that. And some of them just didn't interest me, but for the most part, I put as much as each author's backlist as possible. So we've got Dickens's standalone novels here, and then I combined all the short stories, novellas, and collections together. This could be redundant as well because some of the short stories could be in some of these collections. I just don't know until I read them, so. Then we've got Dostoevsky. I spelt Dostoevsky's name wrong here, so that's fun. But I added his standalone novels. Oh, I didn't even say how I put together these tables. I added the title of the book, or whatever it was, the publication date, if I own it, the date I read it, and the rating. Then we've got nonfiction and his writer's diaries, and then short story collections. And then I added Jane Austen to the space here on this page. So I can't believe I've finished, I think, like half of Austen's works. That's so sad. Then we've got Leo Tolstoy, which is crazy. He has a lot of work out there, and I own, I think, almost all of his standalone novels, as well as some other ones, and I have yet to read any of them. He intimidates me for some reason, I don't know. Next, we've got the Bronte sisters. So I just separated these by each sister. So we have Anne Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, and Emily Bronte. And then we've got Elizabeth Gaskell. North and South is probably one of the first classics I read on my own, not through school. My English teacher gave me the copy and told me to read it. She thought I would really like it, and I loved it. Next, we have Ernest Hemingway. So we've got standalones again. He has a lot of nonfiction. I don't know if I really will read all of them, but I added them anyways. And then short stories and novellas, and then his letters. Then we've got Shakespeare, so I separated his by comedy plays, history plays, and tragedies. I swear Shakespeare had more than this, but apparently not. Then we've got John Steinbeck, standalones, plays, and then nonfiction. Then we've got Cormac McCarthy, so we've got his standalones. Then we've got his series, so he has 2 different series. And then he has plays. I didn't know that he wrote any plays. And then we've got Alice Munro. Again, I have so many of her short story collections, but I've only read one. Next, we've got L.M. Montgomery. So I separated hers by the different series that she wrote and then her standalone novels. I also stopped, in some sections you'll see I stopped writing the headers for certain areas because it just would have wasted so much space, to be honest. So we've got Anne of Green Gables, The Story Girl, Emily Trilogy, Silverbush, and then standalone. And then we've got my boy Frederick Bachman and all of his books. And then I think from Frederick Bachman onwards, it's authors that have, or that are alive, that have not passed away. So I started leaving gaps of space to add in any of their newest releases. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to have this journal for, so for some authors, I left a very generous space. So we've got that. I own literally every single one of his books, except for My Friends, because that releases this year. Then we've got Haruki Murakami. So we have fiction, short stories, collections, and his manga, and nonfiction. So I actually just bought my boyfriend this book, The City and Its Uncertain Walls. So I am going to mark that as owned because now we have it in our collection. He doesn't know this yet because I got it for him for Valentine's Day, but yeah. Then we've got Elena Ferrante. I really need to buy her standalone novels. I feel like I'm going to love everything that she writes. And then we've got Kazuo Ishiguro. Again, short stories and novellas, and then standalones. I did not know that K.A. Tucker has written so many books. I've only read the Simple Wild series, and my hopeful heart added an extra space just in case she releases another book in this series. But this was a 6-star series for me, and then I found out she has all of these other books I need to get to reading because this is insane. Then we've got Elsie Silver. Gotta love Elsie Silver. Also, I did not know she came out with like a short story for the Chestnut Springs series, and I don't think you can actually buy it. So I need to figure out where I can read that, but I added it anyways, and I need to get to her Gold Rush Ranch series. Then we've got Sarah J. Maas. Hers was interesting because I know her Throne of Glass series is finished, I'm not sure if her A Court of Thorns and Roses series is finished, so I left some space here. And then I don't think Crescent City is finished, so I didn't want to close it off, so I just kind of left it open here. So we'll see how this ends up. Then we've got Mitch Albom, which was so funny because the day I was looking into his backlist, I went on his website and it was the same day he announced his newest novel that is coming out this year. I was like, what? I did not know he was coming out with a new novel. I was so confused. And then I went on his like Instagram and all that stuff, and it was that day that it was announced. It was like meant to be. So I need to pre-order that. But yeah, I love Mitch Albom, one of my favorites. Then we've got B.E. Schwab, another author that I did not realize how much of a backlist she had. There are some of these books that are middle grade, I believe, but I am willing to give them a shot. And hers, I had to continue here, and then obviously I left it blank because who knows how many more books she will release. Then we've got Salman Rushdie, which this one I literally have no more space for any of his books. So I don't know if I'm going to leave this page blank or if he does release something, just continue it on later on in the journal. I don't know. But he was the last author I have in my backlist. And then here I kept, I don't even know how many pages I kept. 10 pages. 10 pages empty for authors to add. So the last section in this reading journal is my physical TBR. I put together my list of my physical TBR this month, and I don't know how accurate my number is because I have so many of my books in boxes right now, so I couldn't double check if I have bought new books since the last time I scanned all of my books in my Book Buddy app. Anyways, with all that to say, right now I have written down that I own 1,025 books. Of those, 577 are unread, so my TBR percentage, oh god, I don't know if the percentage of this is how many books I read or how many books I have to read. Oh no, that's how many books I have to read. You would think I would have done opposite. I don't know what I was thinking when I put this together, to be honest, but I'm hoping to update that every year. So now going on to my physical TBR, I separated them primarily by genre, other than I think this. So the first section is my Little Black Classics. I have that set of 80 Little Black Classics by Penguin. They're like little classic books. So I wanted to keep that separate from my other classics. For this one, I wrote down the number because it is a set that is numbered from 1 to 80, and then the title, author, the date I read it, and the rating. So of these, I have read, I believe, 2, which is so bad. Then you can see here, oh my god, the binding, how it was all torn apart. So I have to be careful. Then we move on to classics. So the formatting is all the same, and you know, nothing will be highlighted here because I just created this journal. And then I left just a page and I guess practically 2 pages of space for more classics for whenever I buy them. Then we move on to fantasy. I'm like wondering why I have these asterisks here. I think I started adding them to books that are part of series, but then I stopped. I don't know why I stopped. I'm pretty sure most of these are a part of series. Anyways, that's a little confusing. Then we've got fiction, which this one was really big. I did not separate fiction into like micro genres. I just kept it pretty straightforward. And again, leaving space for the inevitability of new books. Then we've got manga and graphic novels. This makes me laugh because it's primarily all Attack on Titan, and I have read volume 1 but own all 34 volumes. Then we've got memoir and biography. I don't know why I added so much space for this, but I did. Then we've got middle grade. Again, I don't know why I add so much space because I don't really go out of my way to buy middle grade. Then we've got mystery, thriller, and horror all mixed together. I honestly thought I owned more than this, but I don't. And yeah, I just added 1 page. Then we've got nonfiction, which I have quite a bit of. So there's that. Then we've got parenting. Not a parent, but anytime I find a book that I am intrigued on reading in the future, I usually buy it. So this is definitely something that will grow as soon as I start a family. And then we've got philosophy, which is so small. I don't even know why I created this section. I could have just added these under classics, but I, kept them separate. And then we've got poetry and plays. So I added an extra page here. And then we've got romance. I don't know if romance is the last one. I'm not sure. So here I messed up because I only wanted 2 extra pages, but I went from here and then I skipped 2 pages and set up this section. And then when I flip back, these were empty. So now I just have a lot of space for romance. So there's that. Then we've got sci-fi. I don't read much sci-fi, so I didn't add too much extra space. And then we've got short stories and essay collections. And then we've got young adult. And that was the last page. So I have 45 pages left in this journal. So I think that's a good enough amount of pages to continue expanding as I buy books and maybe think of more trackers or things I want to focus on over the span of more than just a year. I literally filled out like 100 pages of just writing out titles and authors' names. Yeah, this took me a long time to create, but now that it's completed, I'm so excited to kind of just use this to keep track of my TBR, to focus on my physical TBR as well, and have like a companion reading journal to reference. Let me know what you think about this reading journal, and if you think that you would also benefit from creating this kind of journal. I think this is a great way to maybe even start a reading journal. Keeping track of your physical TBR, the books that you read, and like have those at the beginning. And if you're not a big reader, or you just want to keep a reading journal for as long as possible and not fill it out in just 1 year, then you can like add a section at the back for all of your ratings and reviews. I think it's so versatile, but it is something that I felt like I was missing from my yearly journals because I do not want to rewrite all of these books every single year. So thank you, Joey, for inspiring me to create this journal, because it's going to be something that I use for many years to come. So thank you all for watching and spending this time with me, and I hope you enjoyed going through my reading journal and my physical TBR and all the things. Let me know what you're currently reading and what your thoughts are on that book, and I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye!